Commander Vex Thule stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the data on his screen. The information came from their scouts who had been watching a small blue planet for weeks. The planet was called Earth, and it was home to creatures, called humans. Vex Thule was not impressed. The humans still used chemical rockets to reach space. They fought wars with metal bullets and explosive bombs. Their biggest weapons were nuclear missiles that could destroy cities. To the Zephyrian Collective, this technology was ancient. They had stopped using such primitive tools 3,000 years ago. These humans are like children playing with fire, Vex Thule said to his second-in-command, Officer Kreldan. They cannot even leave their own star system properly. How did the High Command think they could be a threat? Kreldan checked his tablet. The scouts say humans are aggressive. They fight each other often, but their weapons are weak. Their ships are slow. We could conquer them in one day. Vex Thule nodded. The Zephyrian Collective had conquered 47 star systems in the past 3 centuries. Each conquest had been easy. Most species surrendered when they saw the power of Zephyrian, plasma weapons and energy shields. Those who fought back were destroyed quickly. Prepare the pacification fleet, Vex Thule ordered. 12 destroyer ships should be enough. We will give these humans one chance to surrender. If they refuse, we will show them why the galaxy belongs to the Collective. The bridge crew worked at their stations. Blue lights flickered as the ship's computers calculated the jump to Earth's solar system. Vex Thule had done this many times before. First, they would arrive and demand surrender. Most species gave up immediately when they saw Zephyrian technology. If the humans were smart, they would do the same. Far away on Earth, in a military base, hidden deep underground, Admiral Lisa Carter was reading the same reports that worried her greatly. Earth's deep space sensors had detected the alien ships 3 days ago. The ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system and sent a message in perfect English. The message was simple and terrifying. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They demanded that Earth surrender completely within 72 hours. All human governments must bow to Zephyrian rule. All human military forces must stand down. If Earth refused, the aliens would destroy every human city and take the planet by force. Admiral Carter had served in the Earth Defense Force for 30 years. She had fought in the Mars Colonial War and the asteroid mining conflicts. But she had never faced anything like this. The alien ships were huge. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had ever built. What do we know about their weapons? Carter asked her science officer, Dr. Ben Taylor. Dr. Taylor pulled up images. On the main screen, their ships use plasma-based energy weapons, very advanced. They also have energy shields that can deflect most attacks. Our missiles and railguns might not be effective against them. How many ships do they have? Carter asked. 12 large vessels. Each one is bigger than our largest battleship. They could probably destroy our entire fleet without taking much damage. Carter stared at the images. Earth had 23 combat ships ready for battle. Most were old designs built for fighting other humans, not advanced aliens. The odds were terrible. There is one option, said General Roy Patterson, who commanded Earth's newest ship project. The USS Defiance finished its test runs last month. It's different from our other ships. Carter knew about the Defiance. It was an experimental battleship built with new ideas about space combat. Instead of trying to be fast and light like other ships, the Defiance was heavy and tough. Its armor was thicker than any ship ever built. Its weapons were simple but powerful. 1 ship against 12? Carter asked. That sounds like suicide. Maybe, Patterson said. But if we send our whole fleet, they might pick off our ships one by one. The Defiance was built to take punishment. It might survive long enough to do some damage. Carter thought about the choice. She could send all of Earth's ships to fight the aliens. They would probably all be destroyed, but they might damage a few enemy vessels. Or she could send 1 ship and hope it could somehow win against impossible odds. Who is the captain of the Defiance? She asked. Jake Morrison. He's young but experienced, fought in the Jupiter campaigns. His crew trusts him completely. Carter made her decision. Contact Captain Morrison. Tell him to prepare for immediate departure. And get me a direct line to the Zephyrian commander. 2 hours later, Carter sat in the communications center as a message was sent to the alien fleet. On the screen appeared the face of Commander Vex Thule. He looked like a tall, thin human, but his skin was pale blue and his eyes were completely black. "Admiral Carter of Earth," Vex Thul said in perfect English. "Have you decided to surrender?" "We have decided to defend ourselves," Carter replied. "We reject your demands." Vex Thul looked surprised. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw the power of the collective. "You understand that resistance is futile? Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships." "We will see about that," Carter said. "We are sending a representative to discuss terms." "One ship?" Vex Thul laughed. It sounded like metal scraping against metal. "You insult us with this gesture. One primitive human vessel against the might of the collective?" "One ship," Carter confirmed. "If you defeat it, we will consider surrender. If it defeats you, you will leave our system immediately." Vex Thul's laughter grew louder. "Agreed. When your ship is destroyed, the rest of your pathetic fleet will surrender without firing a shot." The communication ended. Carter sat back in her chair and hoped she had not just sent Captain Morrison and his crew to their deaths. But Earth needed time to prepare its defenses. If the Defiance could damage even one alien ship, it might show that humans were not as helpless as they seemed. In space, the USS Defiance moved away from Earth toward the edge of the solar system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the stars. He knew he was flying toward an enemy that could destroy his ship easily. But he also knew that sometimes the biggest victories came from the greatest risks. "Take us to battle speed," Morrison ordered. "It's time to show these aliens what humans can do." The USS Defiance moved through space toward the edge of the solar system. Captain Jake Morrison walked around his bridge, checking on his crew. His ship was different from other human vessels. Where most ships tried to be fast and light, the Defiance was built like an old-style battleship. Its hull was thick steel and ceramic. Its weapons were simple but deadly. "Contact the alien fleet," Morrison told his communications officer, Kelly White. "Tell them we want to talk." Kelly sent the message. A few minutes later, Commander Vex Thul appeared on the main screen. His pale blue face showed disgust as he looked at the human ship. "So this is the vessel Earth sends to face us," Vex Thul said. "It looks like a flying brick. Your technology is even more primitive than our scouts reported." Morrison stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. We don't want to fight. We just want you to leave our system in peace." "Peace?" Vex Thul laughed. "You will have peace when you kneel before the collective. Your species will serve us just like all the others we have conquered." "We won't surrender," Morrison said calmly. "And we won't let you hurt innocent people." Vex Thul's black eyes grew cold. "Then you will die. All of you will die." He cut the communication. Morrison turned to his crew. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations. This is what we train for." The bridge lights changed to red. Throughout the ship, crew members ran to their positions. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez checked the power systems. In the weapons bay, Gunner Amy Sullivan loaded the railguns. Dr. Helen Murphy prepared the medical bay for wounded crew members. "Alien ships are moving into attack formation," reported Lieutenant Ryan Phillips from the sensor station. 12 vessels in a wide spread. They're trying to surround us." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were sleek and beautiful, like silver arrows in space. They moved with perfect coordination, each one taking a precise position. The Defiance looked clumsy and slow compared to them. "Their ships are charging weapons," Phillips said. "Energy readings are off the charts." Suddenly, bright beams of plasma fire shot from the alien vessels. The first shots passed in front of the Defiance, missing by only a few hundred meters. The plasma beams were so hot they made space itself glow. "Warning shots," Morrison said. "They want us to surrender." Another message came from Vex Thul. "Last chance, humans. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Morrison looked at his crew. Every face showed determination. "Send a message back," he told Kelly. "Tell them no." Vex Thul's reply was immediate. "Then die." All 12 alien ships opened fire at once. Dozens of plasma beams struck the Defiance. The ship shook as energy weapons hit the hull. Sparks flew from damaged systems. The lights flickered. "Hull breach on deck 7, Ryan called out. "Energy shields down to 60%. but Morrison was smiling. "Rodriguez, damage report." The engineer's voice came over the comm system. "Minor damage to outer hull plating. Some burnt paint." "That's about it, Captain." On the alien flagship, Vex Thul stared at his sensors in confusion. Impossible. Direct hits with full-power plasma beams should have destroyed that ship. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "their hull is not reflecting our energy. It's absorbing it." Vex Thul had never seen anything like it. Zephyrian ships used energy shields to deflect attacks, but the human ship had thick armor that soaked up energy like a sponge. The plasma beams that could cut through mountains barely scratched the Defiance's hull. "All weapons, continuous fire," Vex Thul ordered. "Burn through their armor." The alien ships poured plasma fire at the Defiance. The human ship glowed red-hot from the energy impacts, but its thick ceramic and steel armor held firm. "Now it's our turn," Morrison said. "Amy, give them everything we've got." Gunner Amy Sullivan smiled as she pressed the firing controls. The Defiance's railguns roared to life. These weapons were simple in design but devastating in effect. They used magnetic fields to fire chunks of metal at incredible speeds. Depleted uranium slugs shot from the Defiance at 1/10 the speed of light. Each slug was only as big as a coffee cup, but it hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. The aliens watched in horror as solid metal projectiles tore through their energy shields like they weren't even there. The first slug hit a Zephyrian destroyer in the center. The ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. The second and third slugs crippled 2 more vessels, tearing huge holes in their hulls. "What kind of weapons are those?" Vex Thul shouted. "Primitive kinetic projectiles," his science officer replied. "Solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Our shields are designed for energy weapons. They cannot stop physical objects." Vex Thul could not believe it. The humans were using the simplest weapons imaginable, just throwing rocks very fast. But those rocks were moving so quickly that nothing could stop them. The Defiance fired again. 2 more alien ships exploded. A third lost its engines and began spinning helplessly through space. "Evasive maneuvers," Vex Thul ordered. "Use our speed advantage." The remaining alien ships scattered, using their superior speed to stay away from the Defiance's weapons. They fired plasma beams from long range, trying to wear down the human ship's armor. Morrison watched the tactical display. The aliens were faster, but they had to get close to do real damage. "Let them come to us," he told his crew. "Save our ammunition." For an hour, the battle continued. The alien ships darted in and out like angry wasps, firing plasma beams and retreating before the Defiance could respond. Slowly, the human ship's armor began to weaken under the constant energy bombardment. "Hull temperature rising," Rodriguez reported. "We can't take this forever." Morrison made a decision that shocked everyone. "Full speed ahead. Ramming course on the nearest enemy ship." "Sir?" Ryan asked. "That's suicide." "No," Morrison said. "That's human thinking." The Defiance accelerated toward a Zephyrian destroyer. The alien captain tried to dodge, but the human ship was closer than he thought. The Defiance's armored prow smashed into the destroyer's side like a hammer hitting glass. The alien ship broke apart from the impact. The Defiance shook from the collision, but kept flying. Its thick armor had protected it from the crash. Vex Thul watched his fleet being destroyed by tactics he had never seen before. The humans fought, like madmen, taking risks that no sane species would attempt. They rammed enemy ships. They fired weapons that should not work. They refused to surrender even when outnumbered. "These humans are insane," Kreldan said. "No," Vex Thul replied grimly. "They are dangerous. More dangerous than we ever imagined." Only 6 alien ships remained operational. The Defiance had taken damage, but it was still fighting. Morrison looked at his crew. They were tired and scared, but they had not given up. "Round 2?" Morrison asked with a grin. His crew grinned back. They were humans. They never knew when to quit. The battle had been going for 2 hours. Half of the alien fleet was destroyed or crippled. The USS Defiance was damaged but still fighting. Captain Morrison watched his crew work with pride. They were doing the impossible. "Tactical report," Morrison called to Lieutenant Ryan Phillips. 6 enemy ships still active," Ryan said. "They're keeping their distance and using hit-and-run attacks. Our armor is holding, but it's getting weaker." Morrison nodded. The aliens had learned to respect human weapons. They no longer attacked in formation. Instead, they darted in from different directions, fired quickly, and retreated before the Defiance could shoot back. "They're trying to wear us down," said Gunner Amy Sullivan. "Smart tactics." "Maybe too smart," Morrison replied. "Kelly, are you still monitoring their communications?" Communications Officer Kelly White looked up from her station. "Yes, sir. They're using encrypted channels, but our computers are breaking some of it." "What are they saying?" Kelly listened to her headphones. "They're confused, sir. They keep asking each other how we're still alive. They've never fought anyone who uses kinetic weapons. They don't understand our tactics." Morrison smiled. That was the key. The Zephyrian Collective had conquered dozens of species, but they had always fought the same way. Energy weapons against energy shields, predictable tactics, computer-controlled battles. Humans were different. They had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew how to adapt, improvise, and survive. Most importantly, they knew how to think outside the rules. "Pete, how are the engines?" Morrison asked over the comm. Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez answered from the engine room. "Running hot but steady. I've got a few tricks left if you need more power." "And the hull?" "Holding together with steel plating, ceramic armor, and good old-fashioned stubbornness," Pete said with a laugh. "These aliens don't understand that. Sometimes the old ways work best." The Defiance shook as another plasma beam hit the hull. In the damage control center, teams of human engineers worked frantically to repair broken systems. They used welding torches, metal patches, and spare parts cannibalized from other equipment. "Sir," Ryan called out, "the aliens are trying something new. They're coordinating their attacks. All 6 ships are moving into position for a synchronized strike." Morrison watched the tactical display. The alien ships were forming a perfect circle around the Defiance. They would all fire at the same time from 6 different directions. Even human armor might not survive that much concentrated firepower. "They think they have us trapped," Morrison said. "Time to show them they're wrong. Amy, prepare a full spread of missiles. Target the asteroid field at bearing 270. Amy looked confused. "Sir, there are no enemy ships in that direction." "Trust me," Morrison said. "Ryan, as soon as—" "Amy fires, take us straight toward that asteroid field. Maximum speed." The crew followed orders without question. That was another human advantage. They trusted their leaders and could adapt quickly to new situations. The Zephyrian computers needed time to calculate every move. Humans could make split-second decisions based on instinct and experience. The missiles shot toward the empty asteroid field and exploded among the floating rocks. The explosions broke apart several large asteroids, creating a cloud of debris and dust. The Defiance accelerated toward the debris cloud just as the alien ships fired their coordinated attack. Dozens of plasma beams converged on the spot where the human ship had been. But the Defiance was already moving, using the asteroid debris as cover. "Brilliant," Amy said. "The debris will absorb their energy weapons and hide us from their sensors." Morrison guided his ship through the asteroid field like a submarine hiding in an underwater canyon. The aliens fired blindly into the debris cloud, hoping to hit the human vessel. But their sophisticated sensors could not track the Defiance through all the floating rocks and metal. "Now we hunt," Morrison said quietly. The Defiance moved silently through the asteroid field. Its passive sensors tracked the alien ships as they spread out, searching for their missing target. The hunters had become the hunted. "Enemy destroyer at bearing 115, Ryan whispered. "Range, 2,000 kilometers. It's separated from the others." Morrison nodded to Amy. She aimed the railguns carefully and fired a single shot. The uranium slug shot through space and hit the alien ship before it could react. The destroyer exploded in silence. 5 enemy ships remained. They began firing into the asteroid field randomly, hoping to flush out the human vessel. But Morrison had fought in the asteroid mining wars. He knew how to use debris fields better than any alien computer. "Another one," Ryan said. "Bearing 090. It's moving too close to the large asteroid." Amy fired again. The slug hit the asteroid instead of the ship, but the explosion sent rock fragments flying at high speed. The alien vessel was peppered with debris and lost its shields. "Finish it," Morrison ordered. A second shot destroyed the crippled destroyer. Commander Vex Thule was becoming desperate. His fleet of 12 ships had been reduced to 4 in just 3 hours. The human vessel should have been destroyed in the first attack. Instead, it was picking off his ships one by one, using tactics no Zephyrian computer could predict. "How are they doing this?" Kreldan asked. "They have inferior technology. They should not be able to defeat us." Vexthul studied the battle data. The humans used simple weapons and basic tactics, but they combined them in ways no one had ever seen. They turned disadvantages into advantages. They took risks that seemed suicidal but somehow worked. "They fight like no other species we have encountered," Vexthul said. "They do not follow the standard rules of space combat." "Because they wrote their own rules," said the ship's AI. "Analysis indicates that human military doctrine is based on thousands of years of warfare against their own species. They have learned to expect the unexpected." Vexthul realized that the collective had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that primitive technology meant primitive thinking. But the humans were not primitive. They were experienced warriors who had survived by learning to fight smarter, not just harder. The remaining 4 alien ships regrouped and prepared for another attack. But Morrison was ready for them. He had used the asteroid field to even the odds. Now it was time to finish the battle. "Take us out of the debris field," Morrison ordered. "Let them see us." The Defiance emerged from the asteroid cloud like a shark rising from deep water. Its hull was scarred and blackened from battle, but its weapons were still functional. The 4 remaining alien ships moved to surround it. "This is where we win, or lose," Morrison told his crew. "Show them what humans can do when they fight for their home." Dr. Helen Murphy watched from the medical bay as her crewmates prepared for the final phase of the battle. She had treated 17 wounded crew members, but none had asked to be relieved from duty. They all wanted to keep fighting. That was the real human advantage, she realized. Not their weapons or their tactics, but their spirit. They refused to give up, even when facing impossible odds. They fought not just for victory, but for each other and for everyone they had left behind on Earth. The final battle was about to begin. Commander Vexthul stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 8 of his 12 ships were destroyed. 4 more were badly damaged or drifting helplessly in space. Only 4 vessels remained combat-ready, and they faced a single human ship that refused to die. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "the High Command is requesting a status report." Vexthul hesitated. In 300 years of conquest, no collective fleet had ever suffered such losses against a single enemy vessel. The High Command would not be pleased. "Open the channel," he said finally. The screen filled with the image of Supreme Commander Zarketh, the most powerful leader in the Zephyrian collective. His pale blue face showed no emotion, but his black eyes burned with cold intelligence. "Commander Vexthul," Zarketh said in a voice like grinding metal, "explain why a single primitive ship has destroyed 2/3 of your fleet." "Supreme Commander, the humans are not what we expected. Their technology is crude but effective. Their tactics are unpredictable. They fight with a determination we have never encountered." "Determination." Zarketh's voice grew colder. "Are you telling me that primitive emotions have defeated superior technology?" Vexthul knew his career was over, probably his life as well, but he had to report the truth. The humans do not fight like any species we have conquered. They use weapons that should not work. They take risks that should be impossible. They refuse to surrender even when facing certain death. Zarketh was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "You have permission to use the planet cracker." Vexthul's blood turned cold. The planet cracker was the collective's ultimate weapon, designed for mining operations on dead worlds. It had never been used against a living planet. "Supreme Commander, the planet cracker will destroy all life in this system, including any humans we might have enslaved. Then we will make an example of them," Zarketh said. "If we cannot rule these humans, no one will. Activate the weapon immediately." The communication ended. Vexthul turned to his crew. "Begin assembly of the planet cracker. Priority authorization Omega." On the USS Defiance, Science Officer Chris Baker was monitoring alien communications when his equipment detected massive energy signatures. "Captain Morrison," Chris called out urgently. The aliens are assembling some kind of massive weapon. Energy readings are beyond anything I've ever seen. Morrison hurried to the science station. What kind of weapon? I'm not sure, but it's huge. Multiple ships are connecting together to form a single construct. The power output is, Captain, this thing could crack a planet in half. Morrison felt ice in his veins. A planet-cracking weapon pointed at Earth meant the end of everything. His home world, his family, billions of innocent people. How long until it's ready? He asked. 30 minutes, maybe less. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was exhausted. The ship was badly damaged. They had already accomplished the impossible by surviving this long against overwhelming odds. Now they faced a weapon that could destroy worlds. Kelly, get me a direct line to Earth, Morrison ordered. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, Morrison could see the busy activity of the Earth Defense Command Center. Captain, we've been monitoring the battle, Carter said. You've done the impossible. The whole world is watching. Admiral, the aliens have a planet-killing weapon. They're going to use it to destroy Earth. We can't let that happen. Carter's face went pale. Can you stop it? Morrison looked at his tactical display. The alien weapon was taking shape. A massive structure 3 times larger than the Defiance. It would be protected by the remaining 4 enemy ships. I don't know, Morrison said honestly. But we have to try. Captain, Carter said quietly, if you can't stop it, you need to retreat. Warn the colonies. Help them prepare. Morrison shook his head. No, ma'am. If we run, that weapon will follow us. It will hunt down every human settlement in the galaxy. This is where we make our stand. Carter understood. Morrison and his crew were choosing to sacrifice themselves for a chance to save humanity. Godspeed, Captain. The communication ended. Morrison turned to his crew. Every face showed fear, but also determination. You all heard the situation, Morrison said. We have one chance to stop a weapon that can destroy planets. The odds are terrible. Anyone who wants to leave can take an escape pod now. No one will think less of you. Not a single crew member moved. Gunner Amy Sullivan spoke for all of them. We didn't come this far to give up now, Captain. If Earth dies, we die. With it. Morrison felt pride swell in his chest. This was why humans were different. In the face of impossible odds, they chose to fight rather than flee. Pete, how much power can you give me? Morrison asked his engineer. I can overload the reactor core, Pete said. It'll give us twice normal power for about 10 minutes. After that, the ship will be a flying bomb. Do it. Amy, load every weapon we have. I want maximum firepower. Yes, sir. What's the plan? Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the massive alien weapon. We're going to ram it. Full speed, all weapons firing. If we can damage their power core, maybe we can cause a chain reaction. Dr. Helen Murphy spoke up from her medical station. Captain, that's suicide. The explosion will destroy us along with them. Maybe, Morrison said. But if we don't try, everyone on Earth dies. I'd rather die fighting than live knowing we could have saved them. The crew prepared for their final battle. Throughout the ship, humans worked with quiet efficiency. They knew they were probably going to die, but they also knew their sacrifice might save billions of lives. Ryan Phillips tracked the alien weapon on his sensors. Sir, the planet cracker is almost ready. Energy output is rising exponentially. Then it's time to go, Morrison said. All hands brace for combat. This is Captain Morrison. We're about to attempt the impossible. If we succeed, Earth lives. If we fail, at least we'll go down fighting. It's been an honor serving with all of you. The USS Defiance turned toward the massive alien weapon and accelerated to maximum speed. Behind them, Earth waited in silence. Ahead of them, the enemy, prepared to destroy everything they loved. The final charge had begun. The USS Defiance raced through space toward the massive alien weapon. The planet cracker was nearly complete, a terrifying structure of connected ships and energy cores that could shatter worlds. 4 Zephyrian destroyers flew in protective, formation around it. Distance to target, 50,000 kilometers and closing, reported Lieutenant Ryan Phillips. Enemy ships are moving to intercept. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, watching death approach. His ship was damaged and outnumbered. His crew was exhausted. But they had not given up. They would never give up. All weapons ready, Captain, said Gunner Amy Sullivan. Railguns loaded with our last uranium slugs, missiles armed and targeted. Engine core overload in progress, added Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez over the comm. Power output increasing. We'll have maximum energy in 3 minutes. Morrison nodded. 3 minutes to save Earth. 3 minutes to stop a weapon that could destroy planets. It would have to be enough. The 4 alien destroyers opened fire. Plasma. Beams lit up space like deadly fireworks. The Defiance shook as energy weapons struck its armored hull. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Hull temperature critical," Ryan called out. "Armor is beginning to fail." "Hold course," Morrison ordered. "Don't slow down." The human ship continued its suicidal charge. Amy fired the railguns, sending uranium slugs at incredible speed toward the enemy vessels. One destroyer exploded. Another lost its engines and began spinning helplessly. But the Defiance was taking terrible damage. Plasma fire had burned through the outer armor in several places. The ship's thick steel plating glowed red-hot from the energy bombardment. "Captain," Dr. Helen Murphy called from the medical bay, "we have fires on decks 3 and 7. Crew casualties are mounting." Morrison gripped his command chair as another plasma beam nearly tore off the ship's port side. Around him, his crew worked frantically to keep the Defiance flying. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered as power systems failed. 20,000 kilometers to target, Ryan announced. The planet cracker is charging its main weapon. On the alien weapon platform, Commander Vex Thule watched the human ship approach with a mixture of fear and admiration. The Defiance should have been destroyed long ago. Instead, it kept coming, absorbing damage that would have vaporized any other vessel. "Sir, the human ship will reach us in 2 minutes," his weapons officer reported. "Should we concentrate all fire on stopping them?" Vexthul looked at his tactical display. 2 of his escorts were destroyed. The other 2 were badly damaged. The human ship was a flying wreck, but it was still accelerating toward them. "No," he said quietly. "Continue charging the planet cracker. If we destroy their world, it won't matter if their ship reaches us." "But, sir, they could damage our weapon." 1. Damaged ship cannot stop a planet cracker. Fire the weapon as soon as it's ready. On the Defiance, Science Officer Chris Baker watched his instruments with growing horror. "Captain, the alien weapon is almost ready to fire. Energy output is approaching critical levels." Morrison made the hardest decision of his life. "Pete, emergency overload. Give me everything the reactor has right now." "Sir, that will cause a core breach. The ship will explode." "Do it." In the engine room, Pete Rodriguez looked at his gauges one last time. He had served on starships for 20 years. He had always known he might die in space, but he had never imagined going out like this, turning his own ship into a bomb to save Earth. "Core overload initiated," Pete said calmly. "We have maybe 5 minutes before she blows." The Defiance surged forward with incredible speed. It's overloaded. Engines pushed the ship far beyond safe limits. The hull began to crack from the stress, but the ship held together through sheer human stubbornness. 10,000 kilometers, Ryan called out. "Impact in 30 seconds. Morrison opened a channel to the entire ship. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to ram the enemy weapon. Brace for impact. It's been an honor." Throughout the ship, human crew members grabbed onto whatever they could find. In the medical bay, Dr. Murphy held onto her wounded patients. In the weapons bay, Amy kept firing the railguns until the last second. In communications, Kelly sent a final message to Earth. "Tell them we tried." The remaining alien destroyers fired everything they had at the approaching human ship. Plasma beams tore chunks of armor from the Defiance's hull. The bridge windows cracked. Atmosphere began leaking into space, but the ship kept coming. 5,000 kilometers, Ryan said, blood running down his face from a head wound. "The planet cracker is firing!" A massive beam of energy shot from the alien weapon toward Earth. It would take 8 minutes to reach the human homeworld, 8 minutes to travel 93 million miles and destroy billions of lives. But the Defiance was only seconds away from impact. Morrison watched the massive alien structure grow larger on his screen. He could see the weapon's power cores glowing with enough energy to crack a planet. If he could reach them, impact in 5 seconds, Ryan said. 4, 3, 2, 1. the USS Defiance, traveling at 1/10 the speed of light, smashed into the planet Cracker like a sledgehammer hitting glass. The human ship's armored prow punched through the alien weapon's hull and kept going, tearing through power conduits and energy cores. At the moment of impact, Pete Rodriguez triggered the final overload. The Defiance's reactor core exploded with the force of 100 nuclear bombs. The explosion tore through both ships, ripping apart alien technology that had taken centuries to develop. Commander Vexithul had just enough time to realize what the humans had done before his own ship was consumed in the blast. The planet Cracker's energy cores went critical, creating a chain reaction that destroyed the entire alien weapon and everything around it. The explosion lit up space like a new star. When the light faded, nothing remained of either the human ship or the alien weapon except expanding clouds of debris. But the planet Cracker's energy beam was still racing toward Earth. Morrison's sacrifice had destroyed the weapon, but the deadly beam was already on its way. On Earth, Admiral Carter watched the approaching energy beam on her screens. Humanity had 8 minutes to live. The beam would hit Earth's atmosphere and burn through to the planet's core, tearing the world apart from the inside. Then something impossible happened. The energy beam began to weaken. Without the planet Cracker's continuous power supply, the beam started to disperse. By the time it reached Earth, it was nothing more than harmless radiation that burned up harmlessly in the atmosphere. Morrison's desperate gamble had worked. Earth was saved. 3 weeks later, Admiral Carter stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, reading the final report from the battle. The USS Defiance was gone. Captain Morrison and his crew of 200 were all dead. But their sacrifice had saved not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The news of the battle spread quickly through space. The Zephyrian collective, which had seemed invincible for centuries, had been defeated by a single human ship. Worlds that had lived in terror of alien conquest suddenly realized that the collective could be beaten. Rebellions broke out across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for generations rose up against their Zephyrian masters. The collective's empire began to crumble as planet after planet declared independence, and at the center of it all was the story of the USS Defiance, one human warship that had appeared at the edge of the solar system and changed everything. In bars and meeting halls across the galaxy, beings of a dozen different species told the story of the humans who refused to surrender. They spoke of Captain Morrison and his crew, who chose to die fighting rather than live in defeat. The phrase, "one human warship," became a warning that echoed through space. It reminded everyone that sometimes the greatest victories come from the smallest forces, that courage and determination can overcome superior technology, that there are some beings in the universe who will never, ever give up. And in the ruins of the Zephyrian fleet, floating silently in space, a single message beacon continued to broadcast. It was the last transmission from the USS Defiance, sent just before the ship's final charge. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. We came in peace, but you chose war. We offered friendship, but you demanded surrender. So be it. Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten innocent lives. Underestimate humans at your own peril. We are small, we are stubborn, and we never know when to quit. Morrison out. The galaxy would remember."